Flight Meteosat 4.
Aha, that'd be me then, would it? Right, what have we got for you? It's here. Oh, chance of some rain overnight. The low 3 Celsius, that's 37 degrees Fahrenheit. Windy with periods of rain today. Some of it's going to be heavy. Maximum temperature 14 Celsius, 57 degrees Fahrenheit. And the outlook unsettled with showers. The temperature now is 4 Celsius, that's 39 degrees Fahrenheit.
Beacon Radio.
Okie dokie, me old culture lovers. It's the Midnight Line on Beacon and WABC. 754-123 in Wolverhampton, 236-235 in Shrewsbury. What have we got for you tonight? I'll tell you. It was my fault. I got the date wrong. We got Andrew Housley. Hello, Andrew.
Hi.
Tell everyone what you do.
Well, I'm the Regional Principal Officer for the Commission for Racial Equality, and in the Midlands region we cover the whole area from the East Coast right through the Midlands to Wales and the West Coast. So we cover the middle slice of Britain, from Norwich to Swansea.
That's a big area to cover. What do you actually do? What does the Commission for Racial Equality do?
Well, the Commission was set up under the 1976 Race Relations Act to enforce the Act, to assist the victims of discrimination. And we do that in various ways. We take cases, complaints of discrimination, and we can take that through to county court or to industrial tribunal if it's with employment. We have the power to investigate organisations, companies, whatever, who we feel are discriminating. We have some indication or reason to believe there is discrimination. We have the power under the laws to investigate and issue non-discrimination orders. We also do an awful lot of promotional work, providing advice, issuing guidelines to employers on how to handle race equality issues, how to promote equality, how to conduct equal opportunity policies, how to monitor for discrimination. So we do a fairly wide range of work.
So one part of it is enforcing the existing laws.
Yeah, we combine two functions in the sense that we enforce the laws, but we also are there to promote good practice and promote equality of opportunity and to assist people who want to prevent discrimination and promote equality.
But presumably you concern yourselves entirely with race?
Yes.
Yeah, right, so there's no point me asking you what to do about pubs that say no bikers.
Oh, that's quite correct. I mean, we do have things like the Equal Opportunities Commission who look after gender, and there are other organisations. I presume for bikers, so you'd have to look...
Well, we just don't go to the pubs, it's as simple as that.
Right.
Our money's as good as anybody else's. How are we, as a nation, how do you believe we are? Are we racially tolerant?
Very difficult question. I think there is a propensity for discrimination that exists in most countries, most nations, unless you actively ensure that discrimination can't occur.
Is it human nature?
It depends. There's a fairly philosophical question whether it's nurture or nature, isn't it? Whether it's what you're brought up to believe or such things are inherent.
Well, the arguments that I've heard is that being an island race, we are naturally xenophobic.
I find that difficult to accept because we're an island that's been populated by many peoples over our history. It's very hard to define what is British and where the British species originated.
Yeah, there was one example that we used on a phone show that we did a couple of months ago on race. One theory was that ultimately it would sort itself out. If there are racial tensions within the UK, then ultimately they will naturally sort themselves out. Because I suppose going back sort of 1,000 or 2,000 years or however long ago it was, I mean, you'd have people sort of getting upset because the Anglos had just moved into the area or the Saxons had just moved into the area. But I mean, these days you don't sort of start getting upset because a Saxon moves next door to you, do you?
Well, that's right. I mean, a lot of people who say I'm an Anglo-Saxon Briton don't realise that Anglo-Saxon means they came from either Belgium or Germany or Saxony.
Germany? Well, not me then. I think I was Norwegian. Well, we can trace it back.
Certainly the part of the country I came from was heavily populated by people from Scandinavian backgrounds.
Okie doke. Well, listen, if you want to talk to Andrew, if you want to find out how... If you feel that you're the victim of racial discrimination, Andrew will be able to tell you what to do, how to go about doing it, so if you want to talk to him about that, that's fine. Also, if you've got any questions about the role of the Commission for Racial Equality, give us a call, 754-123 in Wolverhampton, 236-235 in Shrewsbury. First on the line, Shafiq, good morning.
Good morning, Ian, and good morning to your guest.
Andrew. Okie dokie,
morning.
You're through to Andrew. What did you want to ask him?
Right, my first question is, I'd like to ask is, does the Commission for Racial Equality only exist for people who are in employment, or is it towards, does it also work towards the people who are seeking employment?
The Commission for Racial Equality works for anybody who's resident in this country. You don't have to be employed, unemployed, or meet any other criteria.
Right. This leads me to a question. I applied for a job as a regional officer in racial equality, as a racial equality officer with the Commission for Racial Equality itself, and I disclosed that I have a visual impairment and I have a good level of education, but nevertheless I was refused and I was not even given a good answer. And can you answer that question, please? Where does the Racial Equality Commission stand on that?
You applied for a job with the Commission for Racial Equality?
I applied for a job within the last couple of years, and that was with the Racial Equality Commission, and I disclosed the information that I am of a collective of ethnic denomination, and I am also a visually impaired person. So therefore, I thought I was at least guaranteed an interview, because according to the job center's information and all the information I have gathered from independent sources, that a person with a disability should be given an interview at least, if not a job.
Well, it would depend on the nature of what the job was and whether your experience and qualifications were suitable. The fact of your ethnicity and your limited visibility, limited vision, wouldn't affect whether you got the job or whether you were shortlisted or not. It would depend purely on whether you had the relevant experience and qualifications for that particular post.
Yes, actually, I did have the relevant.
Well, I clearly thought you didn't.
Yeah, no, I
Otherwise, they'd have given you the job, wouldn't they?
I did have the necessary qualities what the Commission for Racial Equality itself was asking for.
Yeah, but I think I've got the necessary qualities to be Prime Minister, but unfortunately nobody asked me about it. Do you ever find cases where discrimination is being used as a shield?
In what sense?
In the sense that, look, we just talked about to Shafiq. Now, he was clearly a bit upset he didn't get the job. Yeah, but one thing he didn't want to accept was he might not have had the ability. Yeah, he said, I've got the ability. Well, clearly somebody else felt that he didn't. Now, he was saying, is it because I'm visually impaired? That's what it is, isn't it? Do you ever get cases where you follow them up and basically, rather than admit a person's own failings in a particular field, they will hide behind race?
I think there's a tendency for anybody who has a problem in life to try and rationalise it in some way, but it's not usual for people to say that race is a particular problem or grievance for them unless there's some reality to it. It's not usual. So
it's the exception rather than the rule. Do you feel, because most people tend to know about the Commission for Racial Equality because they'd read about it in The Sun.
Really?
Well, yeah, some people do, believe it or not, buy it and read it. Now, the latest story that, again, I don't know how much of this is myth because I haven't actually seen it, but I've talked to people about Captain Scarlet.
Oh, yes. We read this. It was quite damaging, we thought, because over the years the Commission is careful to cultivate a reasonably good image in the press, and over the last 2 years we've been very successful at promoting a good image, and you get a story like this one comes along and it knocks it sideways, doesn't it? It's a hoax, it's a fallacy. The Commission didn't take any action whatsoever and get involved in whether there is a Captain Black, Captain Scarlet, Captain Green or whatever. It was
imaginative journalism.
It was imaginative journalism, and that goes back to some of the other spoofs we've had in the past. The Commission and Bar Black Sheep and that type of thing.
Now that was a myth, wasn't it?
Yes.
That was just a total hoax.
That's right. It's people who dream these things up, put them particularly into the tabloid press, and it makes the organisation look as though we're obsessed with trivia. We're not.
Okay. Would you say that any of the national press are racist?
No,
I'll jump in for you. I think they are.
I wouldn't say so. You mentioned the Sun, which a lot of people would criticise. But if you read the Sun, as I don't read the Sun regularly, but what I do get is the cuttings. I get the cuttings every day of all the popular press, all the quality press, and the way they've handled race stories. And they actually do some good stories. They do some very positive stories. But then they go into something like the Captain Scarlet that sensationalises nonsense.
Okie doke, so they do half a good job, then blow it. All right. We're taking your calls on 754-123 in Wolverhampton, 236-235 in Shrewsbury. If you've got a question that you want to put to Andrew, give us a call now, and we'll be back after this award-winning commercial break.
Nursing Care Midlands are the specialist suppliers of products for nursing and residential homes. All requirements are catered for, including incontinence products, waterproof bedding, capital equipment, and medical sundries. Plus, there's a full range of furniture and hygiene products, and all with speedy delivery. And if you need advice, they'll visit you. Nursing Care Midlands are here to serve. So if there's something you need that isn't in stock, they'll order it for you. For reliable nursing products and professional advice from qualified nurses, call Nursing Care Midlands for a free catalogue on 0384 480099. That's 0384 480099.
This is a public notice from Dreamworld. Due to major showroom alterations currently taking place, Dreamworld are clearing quality three-piece suites, including leather, from just £395 and are currently offering 2 years interest-free credit and up to £500 part exchange on your old suite. Dreamworld also stock a wide range of carpets and beds. They'll even take your old bed away free of charge. Remember, Dreamworld offers 2 years interest-free credit. Ask for written details. The clearance sale is now on at Dreamworld. Open 7 days a week in Stallings Lane, Kings Winford. See local press for opening times.
Well, it's so easy to buy a suite at Dream World.
Are you female, aged between 12 and 25? Can you play a brass or percussion instrument? Can you dance? Would you like to travel the country meeting new friends, appearing at venues like Wembley Arena or the NEC? This is your chance to join Chase Drum and Trumpet Corps, one of Britain's top youth marching bands. Auditions are now being held on Wednesday nights at Chase Terrace High School, Bridge Cross Road, Beltwood, between 7pm and 9pm. For further details, call Cannock 685-455. We're a charitable organisation and also require company sponsorship. Call Cannock 685-455.
Buying windows, only one way's correct. Call the manufacturers and buy them direct. Carter's Windows, 333-5522. Carter's Windows, 333-5522.
But Emily loved him. The mice on the clock.
You have been taking part in a commercial for TAG, lager brewed to the 1516 Reinheitsgeburt, and certainly not bags.
Beacon Radio.
Midnight Line on Beacon and WABC, 754-123 in Wolverhampton, 236-235 in Shrewsbury. In the studio, we've got Andrew Housley. Andrew works for the Commission for Racial Equality, so if you've got any questions that you wish to ask him, those are the numbers you need. Next, we've got Len. Good morning, Len.
Morning, Ian.
Smile, a song and a conspiracy theory.
Yeah, there's a conspiracy, mate, about 6 million of them.
What's that? Well, you're through to Andrew, so you speak to Andrew.
Yes, hello, Andrew.
Hi.
I don't want to be friends with you because I disagree with everything you stand for, to be quite honest. And there's a lot of other people that do in this country as well. Because no matter what you say, you go into the pubs and the streets that I go into, and there is a certain amount of racialism everywhere in this country, except with left-wingers like yourself, who seem to be so pious, it's unreal. You want to get down to nitty-gritty and street level, old son. I mean, I can't apply as a white person for jobs which these racial minorities and you have advertised for them, and have a look in the Birmingham Mail and you'll see there's more jobs for them advertised now than there is for whites.
That's totally untrue.
Well, no, but there's a lot, isn't there?
Totally untrue.
There's a lot. Well, every
No,
time
there
I
isn't.
pick a Birmingham Mail up, there's a whole column. Yeah, and there's
No,
usually
I don't
2 or
accept
3.
that.
Well, proof's in the pudding. Anybody who lives in Birmingham, pick a Birmingham Mail up and have a look for yourself.
That's right. Pick up a Birmingham Mail, send it to me, and I'd like to see it.
And the second thing is, can you explain to me something I've asked Ian on many an occasion? Because obviously you're getting uptight.
No, he's not.
Well,
That's very unfair, that, Len.
explain something
It's
to me.
the picture of calmness, mate, let me tell you.
All right then. Well, explain something to me, will you? If we've got 25,000
active servicemen over in Ireland, and me and Ian have spoken about this before, why isn't there 2,500 coloureds over there serving? If they make up 10% of our population now, which I believe they do, and why we've got 5,000 men over in Bosnia or more, why isn't there 10%? That's 500 Asians or blacks over in Bosnia doing their bit. Why is it they seem to come over here and want the perks, and yet they don't want to do the drawbacks?
Right, let's look at that one. The Ministry of Defence at the moment, we're trying to get them to actually recruit more people from minorities. We've been winning cases against the Ministry of Defence for discriminating in the British Army against minorities, and you've probably seen some notable cases of black squaddies who've had a really rough time in the army. And if that occurs, then you can't get people in, and so you're not going to get the proportions you want in the army and the other forces in Bosnia and Northern Ireland. It's not from lack of trying.
You say that 10% or a proportion, a large proportion equal to the pro rata amount, actually apply to join our armed forces and are turned down. Is that what you're saying?
It's very difficult. If you look at the household cavalry, the guards, and all those, they don't have one black recruit. They've never accepted one black recruit.
Now, the guards did, didn't they, the wooden tops?
They did eventually, I think, after Prince Charles came out and advocated that the guards should accept. At the time, they had zilch. And quite recently, we've had a fairly major case. I think it was Corporal Anderson, who got, I think, record damages for discrimination.
All right, then. Well, what about the Pioneer Corps? I mean, these aren't the guards or the wooden tops or whatever you call it. About the Pioneer Corps or the Royal Green Jackets, there isn't 10% in them. Or the Marines.
There isn't 10% population in this country from minorities. It's 3.5.
3.5?
3.5.
So there aren't 6 million of them. I've been told a lie.
You've been told a lie. You read the census. The 1991 census, government statistics.
And that includes all the illegal immigrants as well.
It includes everybody who's in the UK. So that
filled the census form in.
That's correct.
Well, I would, if I was an illegal immigrant. It's true. In fact, I wouldn't. And actually, I've got a friend who's an immigration officer, and believe me, there's a lot of them in here.
I'm surprised you've got many friends, actually.
Well, that's below the belt, isn't it?
Well, you asked for it.
Well, not really. I mean, but that's the sort of thing I would
yes,
expect
you
off this
did.
guy.
Yes, you did.
Anyway,
you asked for it.
That is the true facts, mate. I mean, I'm not a racialist, but I tell you what, there's certain parts of Birmingham that I wouldn't like to walk through as a white man after this time of night. Anyway, how about you, mate?
There's lots of parts of Birmingham I wouldn't like to walk through at any time.
Well, that's very nice.
All right, Len.
I rest my case, my son, but I tell you what, they'll have a few more calls tonight on the same vein as me.
Okay, let's see.
I think you're losing Claire Cookie, Len, mate.
Right, well, there are some who would argue that you do, Len. There we go, 754-123 in Wolverhampton, 236-235 in Shrewsbury. Next on the lines, the Eric. You haven't met Eric yet, have you?
No.
The Eric line's going. I'll give you a call back, Eric. All right, yeah, ta-ra.
Who's that one I just had?
What, Len?
Yeah, Len.
Yes. You can write that down. We got Beverly next.
Is he regular, is he, Len?
Sort of. Good morning, Beverly.
Good morning, Ian.
Good morning. You're through to Andrew. I thought you dealt with Len very, very well.
Good morning, Andrew.
Morning.
I'd like to know why this race relation doesn't work for white people. I'm referring to something that happened a few years ago. By where I lived, there was a white shopkeeper, really surrounded by a lot of Asian shopkeepers, and they made his life hell. In fact, he had to close his shop down. But when he went to the Race Relations Board, they said that because he was white, they got no case to answer.
No, I don't think that's correct. Because the Commission for Racial Equality, remember, there hasn't been a Race Relations Board since 1965. But the Commission for Racial Equality takes cases from anybody, and it is about equality, and equality cuts both ways.
Yes,
I personally have taken cases to court on behalf of white clients.
You have, because I mean, I'm white and I have been racially harassed, but we have somebody living round by us who she's always screaming racial harassment. Gets the police in, they come round, they talk to everybody. Nobody's mentioned her colour, in actual fact. Nobody has said a thing. Yet she calls us all sort of names like white bitches and all the rest of it, and yet we can say nothing.
Well, I think she's doing herself a disservice, but the law is quite straightforward. It is about anybody discriminating, and it works both ways. No side has privilege in discrimination.
It isn't. They say that this shopkeeper was very upset. He did actually shut his shop down because of it.
Well, it's hard for me to comment on that because I don't know the nature of what happened.
Yes, it was sort of near where I live, so I do know about it. and he was really upset about it.
But the basic rule is that you're there for everybody.
That's absolutely right.
But presumably it's the overwhelming number of cases involve minorities, simply because they're minorities, yeah?
That's absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Does this include age as well, being a minority? Or a majority in this country?
What do you mean by that?
Age. Well, I was discriminated for a job I went after because of my age.
Yeah, I'm
They were quite prepared to take me, because I phoned up, quite prepared to take me over the phone, face value. As soon as they knew my age, that was it. They didn't want to know.
Oh, well, where'd you go for that? It's age concern, I suppose. Something like that. Try them. It's very strange. I mean, I've been looking at, just looking through the papers and that, and they sort of say applicants must be aged 25 to 35, which means I'm very nearly on the scrap heap.
Well, they say mature at 25 now. It was never mature when I was 25.
I'm still not mature and I'm 35. Listen, Beverly, that's the answer to your question, that it works. It's there for everybody.
Yes.
Okay, so we thank you for that.
Thank you.
Ta-ra.
Bye.
754-123 in Wolverhampton, 236-235 in Shrewsbury, Midnight Line on Beacon and WABC. We've got the Commission for Racial Equality. Well, not all of it. I mean, it's Andrew Housley. He's in the studio. If you want to ask Andrew a question, give us a call now, and we'll answer some calls while you listen to this superb and award-winning commercial break.
My house is falling apart and there's damp everywhere. The council and the landlord can't help. What am I going to do?
Don't panic. Walton & Co solicitors give legal advice to anyone with housing, social security or any other legal problems. If you're unemployed or even if you're on a low income, advice is free. At Walton & Co, it's your welfare we care about. So for your legal help, call us on Wolverhampton 21969, Wolverhampton 21969, or come and see us above Brannigan's at 8 North Street, Wolverhampton.
If you want to do some tiling, you don't know where to go. Just one name that you should know. Tiles and grout, spread around your glue, get it all at Walsall Tile. Big one, small one, flat or plain. All in once, you'll have to call again. We're your one-stop shop. We've got the lot, get it all at Walsall Tile. Get it all at Walsall Tile.
Buy 250 tiles, get adhesive, spreader, grout and free delivery. Phone Walsall 646 092.
Get it all at Walsall Tile.
The Chase Motor Company in Hensford Road, Heath Hayes sells really cut-price petrol. That's a blessing these days. Quality Chase petrol, less than others charge. The Chase Motor Company is known as Farms Garage. It's on the Hensford Road, Heath Hayes. It's even got a store with groceries, papers, drinks and a whole lot more. So when you are out travelling, you really must agree you've got to make a stop at Chase Motor Company.
You'll do better at Kidderminster Carpets.
Put the brightness back into your home with a brand new Kidderminster carpet. We've got 80% wool twist from only £7.99 a square yard. And Antron and Stainmaster carpets. They'll keep their good looks for years and years. Buy with confidence. Buy a Kidderminster carpet. Call our free phone number.
0800 44 1155.
Hi, this is Dr. Fox on the all-new Network Charge Show with Pepsi, the choice of a new generation. The fastest, the freshest, and most exciting chart on your dial. This week, we're giving you the chance to win a state-of-the-art Sony CD music system. And all runners-up who get on air will win CD Walkmans. So crank up the brand new Network Charge Show with Pepsi this Sunday at 4 on the latest hits and greatest memories, Beacon Radio.
The Pepsi Network Charge Show.
Midnight Line on Beacon and WABC, 754-123 in Wolverhampton, 236-235 in Shrewsbury. We've got the Commission for Racial Equality in the form of Andrew Housley. He's in the studio taking your questions. I'm feeling quite well so far, good batting average. Who have we got next? We've got Eric on in a moment. First of all, I don't know what you've done to deserve this. It's more semantic backflips with Mr. Johnny Morris and Jamo the Parrot. Good morning.
Hello.
Hello, John.
Hey, look, I've been talking to Jamo again, and he's quite perturbed about this.
This is your parrot?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
He can't understand the difference between the Commission and the Industrial Tribunal.
Jamo the Parrot can't?
No, he says, look, you can't have both lots. One deals with one and one deals with another. Who deals with what? That's my question.
Do you
take it on board?
Do you overlap? I think is what he's asking.
No, what happens is if you've been discriminated against in employment, you would come to us and we would take a case to the Industrial Tribunal. The Industrial Tribunal hears cases of any problems to do with employment law, and racial discrimination would be just one part of that. We would go along with somebody who's been unfairly dismissed or discriminating getting a job or made redundant for racial reasons, and we would go to the tribunal. The tribunal is 3 people, one put there by the trade union background, one with an industrial background, and a chairman. And those 3 people adjudicate on employment law. That's their job. We are entirely separate, no connection.
So why have 2? Why not have 1?
Well, the Industrial Tribunal is only there to hear cases, like magistrates are. They're not there to... you present evidence to them. They're the people who are doing the judging.
So what you're saying is that you hear it before the Industrial Tribunal does?
Sorry?
You hear the case before the Industrial Tribunal?
We don't hear cases. What happened?
Well, you advise the cases that go to the Industrial Tribunal then?
Yeah, that's right. And also to county court.
Well, isn't that preempting the situation? Isn't that saying before it gets to the Industrial Tribunal that you've already decided that it is discriminatory?
No, because we don't have any power in that sense. We put cases up to tribunal, we win some, we lose some.
Yes, but what my question is, to get back fundamentally again, is if we got one person saying that yes, there is discrimination, and another person saying, well, yes, there is discrimination, and we'll make a judgment, I can't understand why we have 2 bodies doing the same thing.
No, they're not. Let's say you have a different problem. Let's just hypothetically say you've got a housing problem. You go along to your Citizens Advice Bureau and they say, yes, we'll help you with your case and we'll take it to the Housing Department. They haven't taken a decision about it. If you go along to Citizens Advice Bureau and say, I've got an employment problem, they could also take you to an Industrial Tribunal. They're providing advice, assistance, support. They're not judging the case.
You've got no teeth, in other words?
We have, but not in the sense that you're saying.
Are you drying your hair, Johnny Morris?
No. There's 2 sides to me, There's me and Jamo and the sensible side. I'm sensible tonight.
No, I just wondered what the interference on the phone was.
If you like.
No. Sorry, do continue.
No. I don't want to spoil anything. Not me. I like tea parties.
And presumably the industrial tribunals are precisely that. They're industrial.
Yes.
So it doesn't cover all.
But they are tribunals, and they do hear cases on discrimination.
And on any other matter to do with employment.
That's right.
But presumably your role there would be to decide whether, or to support a case or not, according to how you believe.
So if it's supported before it gets to the Industrial Tribunal, well, and then it's preempted on a decision.
No. If individuals have a complaint of discrimination, they can come to us and we will provide assistance for them to present their case, be it to a county court, in which case they go up before a magistrate, or if it's an industrial matter, to an Industrial Tribunal. We don't prejudge it.
I didn't. What I'm saying is that why do we need the prejudging? Not that we don't. I didn't say we didn't need it.
No, we don't.
But we're making 2 judgments instead of 1.
The Times cryptic crosswords is going to feel a lot easier after this, Andrew.
That's my problem, Ian. It's only a simple question, and maybe there's a better time to put it.
Okie dokie then, John.
Righto. Thanks very much, mate.
Ta-ra. There you go, a semantic backflip, you see. The trick is, Andrew, to try and work out what he's talking about. Next on the lines, you thought that was bad. I really don't know what you've done to deserve this. I'll tell you what, we'll go to, I think we've got Paul next. Paul's on... Is Paul on this line?
All right.
Hello, Paul. You're through to Andrew.
Cheers. All right, Andrew.
Hi.
Well, the reason I phoned him was, forgive me if I'm totally wrong there, but, you're on about, you're part of the racial discrimination and whatever.
Yeah.
Do you also deal with discrimination as a whole, or just basically specifically to do with racial creed and whatever?
We deal specifically with racial discrimination in terms of the 1976 Race Relations Act.
Oh, right, fair enough. Well, basically, say for want of a better argument, somebody actually wanted to say, okay, like, you know, I am, or a group of people are being discriminated by a set body of people, who would they get in touch with? And it's nothing to do with colour, it's to do with something totally different.
Well, why do you feel you're being discriminated against?
Well, now what it is, as an example, well, no, not an example, tell us what it is. Myself and several other people, like friends of mine, are disabled. Now, the thing is, there's a cinema local to us, the Walsall ABC. I haven't been in there for several years now, just for the sheer fact that I was once turned out because they said I was a fire risk. Now, I didn't think that I was prone to any spontaneous combustion at the time anyway, but like apparently it's still going on, and now apparently the Walsall Council as a whole are trying to shut it down as they are apparently a fire risk, which I thought is ironic. But I was just wondering, like, if there are sort of official buildings that are still sort of taking this Victorian idea that, you know, because you're, I don't know, you either don't fit in with the norm, if there is such, like, in quotes, a norm, or whatever, are there still people that you can actually turn to and say, well, look, you know, there's got to be something that can be done about this?
I don't think it's people that's the fire risk. I think it's the buildings that's the fire risk.
No,
and in that sense, you go to the planning authorities, surely.
Yeah, well, what they actually said was, say, in the case of an emergency, whether it be a fire drill or the actual thing, they said that if a person was in a wheelchair, the first thing they said was, you cannot stay in your wheelchair. And I said, well, what am I supposed to do? They said, you've got to go into a normal seat. No problem. Well, they said, well, the thing is, if there's a fire, we'll try and get your wheelchair to you. And I said, well, it better be, because I don't know, you're going to see the fastest crawling you've ever seen, like, you know. And like, he said, well, the trouble is, people might trip over your wheelchair as they're trying to get out. And I said, so
what you want to know is how can you do anything about that?
Well, yeah, basically.
And who do you go to?
Yeah, in a nutshell.
Because discrimination doesn't necessarily need to be racial, does it?
No, there's all different kinds of discrimination, but we just specialise in racial discrimination.
Well, it's just you're the first sort of people, like, discrimination sort of board that I've ever heard on sort of radio. So I thought, well, you must know of, or you must have heard of that sort of thing happening before, you know. And as I say, and I might be wrong now, but as far as I know, they still haven't changed their opinion, because everybody who I've ever heard of now, they're all moving to the showcase at Junction 10 now, because of they are like totally the opposite, but I think it's because they're owned by an American company.
Well, certainly over the last few years, you've seen an enormous amount of effort by local authorities and planning authorities to ensure that any new buildings and any new licensed properties have wheelchair access. And I think the problem is you've probably got a very old cinema here, and the people that own it simply haven't spent the money on it they should do to ensure that their customers do have access.
Yeah, well,
so I think what Paul wants to know is have you got any mates who work sort of handling that?
I'm afraid not. It would more than likely be your local authority.
Okie dokie. Thanks for that. So there you go, Paul. Your local authority. Now, you've never heard Eric before, have you?
I'm afraid not.
No, here it comes.
Sounds like it.
Good morning, Eric. He's got the most famous catchphrase in the entire history of the cosmos. You wait till you're going to be impressed, Andrew.
Right, let's go for it.
Come on, Eric. He's listening to his wireless. Here it comes. What a catchphrase. We had an offer off Jimmy Tarbuck today for this, and we had to turn him down because it's Eric's catchphrase. What a catchphrase, Eric. Good morning.
Morning, Ian.
Good morning. You're through to Andrew.
Yes, Andrew.
Hi.
What do you want to ask, Eric?
What do I want to ask? When I was a kid going to school, we had the gollywog in blackcurrant jam. Why is it prejudiced today to have it in?
Have it in where?
The blackcurrant jam.
Is a gollywog racist, I think is what he's trying to ask. Is that right, Eric?
Yeah. Let's turn this set down.
You turn that set down, Eric. You should know by now. You've been phoning me 6 years. Yeah, we did a phone in a couple of weeks ago on, I think it was Clwyd County Council had withdrawn a book because somebody had complained that it had a gollywog in it. And the question we were asking is it racially offensive?
Well, I think it obviously offends some people's sensibilities, otherwise there wouldn't be the complaints and council wouldn't be withdrawing them, and presumably Robinsons wouldn't be changing their jam labels.
And that's what Robinsons are changing them, are they?
I don't know. It's not an issue that as a commission we've been involved in, to be honest.
Right, so it's down to the individual. Now, if somebody did find a gollywog offensive, well, they could come to you for that, could they?
People have come to us from time to time with the way that images are portrayed of black people, caricatures, that type of things. And you've only got to look how cartoons can be painful in depicting people.
Do people take offence at that sort of thing? I mean, because, like, for example, you could say that, to go back to the Enid Blyton books, you could say that that Big Ears is offensive, or Noddy's offensive, because he portrays white people as being small, wearing stupid shoes and a little blue hat with a bell on the end.
Yes, right.
I mean, surely you've got to be sort of real about it, haven't you?
That's right, and I think the Commission is very realistic. We basically haven't got involved in a lot of things which are peripheral and are not central to our main work, which is discrimination. But if you want to take it on a serious thing, if you go back to the 20s and 30s and look at the cartoons that used to be around in pre-war Germany, which were quite clearly anti-Semitic, where they were part of a change in what was happening in popular culture, which became very threatening to people who, as part of other changes and other threats that were happening to them. I don't think we've got that situation now. I don't think we're facing that sort of thing with Noddy and Big Ears and all the rest of it. I see those as being harmless and trivial. But there are times when depicting people when a community is under severe pressure and stress and changes are happening in society in certain ways is calculated to frighten people.
So used as a sort of propaganda?
Yeah.
As in the same way that the Nazi Germany used it.
That's
I've actually
right.
seen those cartoons, and they're nasty, aren't they?
Oh, they are.
Incredibly nasty. Eric?
Yeah?
Hello? What did you make of that, then?
Not a lot.
Why is that?
Because it's only just lately that they've started kicking up about it.
But Andrew's saying that the Commission for Racial Equality aren't kicking up about it.
No, well then why is it then that there's so much fuss made over it? Why is there so much fuss made over a sign that's over the labour in vain, or say, where a white woman scrubbing a black baby, trying to scrub a black baby white?
Well, that was a case, that was about 5 years ago, wasn't it, Eric?
Yeah, and it's still going on now.
Well, is that racially offensive?
Sorry, I'm not familiar.
Well, there was a case about 5 years ago where a pub sign was, I think they were trying to have it banned because it showed a white woman trying to scrub clean a black child. I mean, it's basically, was it about 1600, 1700? That was the sort of time period of the pub sign. Now, there's two arguments there. I mean, first of all, is it offensive to white people because the white woman's being portrayed as so stupid that she doesn't know that you can't, that it's a colour?
I mean, I don't know. I'm not familiar with this. I don't know if the people who complained about it were local people, they were local black people, local white people, or what they were, who was offended. People can take offence at these things. They sometimes draw these things to our attention. It's very rare that we would be involved in something of that nature.
Sorry,
but why after over 100 years? I mean, why should we come down now that I'm all right, Jack, but they can't say nothing about me, Dick? In other words, they can do what they want to do, the coloured people, yet the white can't.
And now I think we're coming to something different. It's not correct to say that different communities can behave in different ways and get away with things that other communities can't. In other words, minority communities are not put in a privileged position, which is what you're suggesting.
But you'll find racialism, you'll never get rid of it, no matter how much you try, because you'll never get rid of it, because racialism is in the police force, and racialism is in a lot of people's minds in this country. It doesn't matter where you go. You get somebody who goes down to the Social Security, they turn them down for a grant or something like that. When you get a coloured person and goes on appeals for the same thing, he gets it. Well then, you can no wonder at racialism being in this country, can't you? If they're bad enough to do the mugging on the stealing with the white man, then they're good enough to carry out the English laws, aren't they?
I'm just trying to think of the best way to explain this. The law applies equally to people who are black and white. It should apply without prejudice and without favour. And I think if we had the police in here tonight, they would be saying they would apply the law without prejudice and favour.
And they'd probably do it and keep a straight face while they did it.
They would do, because I know one instance where one lady is a Beacon fan, and her daughter was more or less destroyed by a policeman, but he reckons, according to all accounts, they used to line up and say, let's go out and see how many goons we can capture tonight. So, I mean, racialism is in the police.
And not all policemen, though.
Biggest part of them.
I don't know about that. Listen, Eric, we've got to move on, mate.
Cheers.
Ta-ra.
Ta-ra.
There we go, Captain Napalm on Beacon and WABC. Let me ask you, Andrew, if somebody comes to you with a complaint, what happens next?
An individual complainant?
Yeah.
We look at the merits of the case, and we look at it, whether it's a case that we think is winnable in a court or a tribunal, and whether it's an important enough case for us to put public money into assisting that case through to its conclusion.
And what percentage of cases would you say are actually taken through?
1,700 cases come to us in a year, and I can't think off the top of my head.
Well, just roughly.
Maybe say 600, 400 to 600 go through.
So about 25%?
Yeah.
About 25%. Do you ever get the criticism that you're witch hunting?
No, that's something that hasn't come to us. I mean, let me give you another statistic and throw it at you the other way around. In 1981, the government produced statistics that said if you are African Caribbean, you are 30 times more likely than a white person to be racially attacked. And if you are Asian, you are 50 times more likely to be racially attacked than a white person. The racial incidents now, in 1993, that's 13 years after this evidence, have showed a doubling in the past few years of the number of racial incidents. And Peter Lloyd, who's Minister in the Home Office, went to the House of Commons and he said, we've had 7,993 cases reported to the police, but we think that the realistic number is about 140,000. And that means one person is being racially assaulted in this country every 4 minutes.
We must find this man and stop him. Okie dokie, we'll be back with Andrew. If you want to have a word with him, 754-123 in Wolverhampton, 236-235 in Shrewsbury. It's the Midnight Line on Beacon and WABC.
How can you enhance your company image in just 24 hours? Move to IMEX Business Parks. All premises have reception staff and security patrols. Office units have reception facilities, while industrial tenants have the use of three-phase power, compressed air lines and forklift trucks. Just pay a month's rent in advance with no personal guarantees and you're up and running. For more details, dial 100 and ask for free phone IMEX. IMEX. No red tape, no worries.
We got what you want at the price you want to pay.
Mayfair's Quality Carpet Wholesale Warehouse is now open to the public.
Make your choice and take it away.
Save pounds on carpets from leading manufacturers by buying direct from the roll at discount prices. There's hundreds of rolls on display which can be fitted within a few days by Mayfair's own expert fitters. Estimates are free and credit is available subject to status. Written quotations on request. Mayfair Carpets, the quality carpet wholesalers. Now open to the public every day in Park Lane, just off the A460 Cannock Road, Wolverhampton.
The Chase Motor Company in Hensford Road, Heath Hayes sells really cut-price petrol. That's a blessing these days. Quality Chase petrol, less than others charge. The Chase Motor Company is known as Farms Garage. It's on the Hensford Road, Heath Hayes. It's even got a store with groceries, papers, drinks, and a whole lot more. So when you are out travelling, you really must agree you've got to make a stop at Chase Motor Company.
Hey, Suits Plus are flogging 2 suits for £100. 2 suits for £1. Suits Plus in the Quasar Centre, Park Street, Walsall, and City Centre, Birmingham.
If your garden shed's full, loft overflowing, or your spare room's full of junk, bring it to Brum's Best Boot Sale every Sunday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Birmingham's Wholesale Market Precinct off Pershaw Street. Car boots are £5 and vans £6. Turn up on the day from 7 a.m. to be guaranteed a space. For more information, ring our hotline number, Birmingham 643-4130. There's plenty of parking nearby, so don't forget, rain or shine, it's always fine at Brum's Best Boot Sale.
Beacon Radio.
Midnight Line on Beacon and WABC. Next on the line is to speak to Andrew. We've got Eric. Good morning, Eric.
Hello, good morning.
And welcome. Different Eric, though.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, I'd like to talk to the race equality, if I can.
You are through?
Yeah, hello.
Hi.
Yeah, I'd just like to say that I think most black people in this country, you know, are stupid as far as racism's concerned. I mean, obviously they come to you and complain about, you know, what we've been on about, gollywog jam. And I've worked with black people and that, and I think that they complain about anything they can.
We don't get anybody, or very few people, coming to us about gollywog jam. I mean, that's what I was saying. It's not an issue that we spend any time on.
Yeah,
we deal with serious problems that people face.
Well, if you say serious problems, then one question I'd like to ask: could you tell me any white person you've ever represented in court?
I think what I was saying to either the first or second speaker is I have represented white people in court against discrimination charges.
Could you tell me any specific person?
I can, but I'm bound by confidentiality.
Yeah,
I can't name my clients.
I don't think that's a fair question. I think you've answered the question, Andrew. Have you ever represented a white person? Answer,
certainly have.
Yes.
Yeah, you have. Because I think, you know, myself, I'm against black people. I'll be honest. I think that it's them that's against our society, and they just want to change our way of life. For instance, wearing turbans and that. They don't want to wear crash helmets on motorbikes. They don't want to wear police helmets. They just want to wear a turban. I think they're eroding away our society.
Well, it's something that we've always accepted, Sikhs wearing turbans. It's a religious requirement if you are a Sikh. We were quite happy to have Sikh regiments fighting in the First World War. We were quite happy to have Sikh regiments in the Second World War.
Well, you know, I mean, for instance now, I mean, we had a case about a week ago in London, in Tower Hamlets, where black people was burning the Union Jack. I mean, could you explain that to me?
Well, 9 black people have died in East London, and in Tower Hamlets, not very long ago, a young man called Caddis Ali was coming home, and he was beaten to within an inch of his life. He's still in intensive care. He's, I don't know if he's ever going to be able to lead a normal life again.
Yeah,
so there is an emotional reaction. I don't like to see Union Jacks burnt. But if you live in Tower Hamlets and the only time you see a Union Jack is when the National Front and the British National Party are waving it, you start to wonder what it means.
Well, I'd say I would agree with the British National Party. I think they're doing a very good job. I mean, regular in the paper by us, there's people writing letters sticking up for the British National Party. And I myself personally have voted for the British National Party and the National Front. And what I'd like to say is this. There was a white gentleman in Walsall stabbed to death. It's in the Express and Star tonight. A gentleman called Paul Carter. Now, this man was stabbed by a group of Asian youths. So are you saying now that if it's all right for the coloured people to burn the Union Jack, we should go out tonight and attack mosques and that?
No, I'm not saying it's all right for people to burn the Union Jack. I said I don't like to see it.
Well, you know, it's something that makes me very mad, because if you see white people attacking black people, it's on the telly, it's publicised, and it's right across the country. Everybody knows about it. Like this gentleman that was stabbed in East London, they said it was a racial attack. Now, this racial attack in Walsall, which was a racial attack, where a gentleman was actually killed, it never even got on the telly.
Well, you're quite right, it didn't get coverage because I don't know anything about it.
Well, that's
so,
right.
I mean, it's very hard for me to comment on it.
Yeah, you see, I think, I mean, for instance, I did phone in last night. The case, it has been to an industrial tribunal today. There was a woman said she got sacked from a garage by an Asian man because she didn't speak the same language as him. Now, it went to court and she has actually lost the case. But what I'd like to say is that they got rid of the white woman and they have since employed 2 Asian people. I don't know what your comment on that is.
I'm surprised you lost the case.
Well, I am myself. I couldn't believe
there
it.
Again, I said that on the facts as you presented them. I'm not sure what the details of the case are.
Yeah, well, she did. She was sacked. What I'd like to say is, I don't know. I suppose you think I'm a racist. I don't know. People from abroad come into this country, for instance. Now, there's a gentleman come from France into this country. Now, he's in a 3-star hotel in London. £630 a week it costs for this hotel. And I think that's wrong. I mean, he's come over here, he's got nowhere to live, and our government's putting him in these hotels. Now, an MP actually in London, Harry Greenway, a Tory MP in London, has said that he disagrees with foreign scroungers coming to this country. And I think that makes quite a lot of people, including myself, racist towards black people.
But you're talking about somebody who's French. He's not black.
Well, no, I'm talking about foreigners, whether they're black or white. I'm not talking.
But surely we're in a European common market, and surely there's British scroungers in Germany, Belgium, France, and the other EC countries living in hotels and being paid for by their government.
Well, I don't know. I think that a lot of people. I mean, I was on the other night talking about ethnic minorities, for instance, having large families. Now, in their own country, they can't support them. But in this country, the British people, such as myself, and, well, we'll call you British if you want, support them as well.
That's very good of you. I was born in Sheffield.
And support them as well. I mean, they're having 7 children, on average. Now, how can they possibly support 7 children in this country? It's taxpayers like myself that are paying for these people to have lots of children. And I disagree with that. And I think family credit should be stopped to all Asian families, all black families, after 4 children.
Well, black and Asian families contribute the same as everybody else does to their tax and national insurance to pay for the benefits and rights that people have. And now I don't think there's any evidence that black and Asian families are any greater dependency upon the state and state benefits than any other community.
Well, I think you'll find that there are a greater number of black people, and this is fact, that are on the dole. But what I'd like to mainly say is...
Well, doesn't that indicate discrimination to you?
Well, I don't know. As I said previously, I believe that they come to this country, most black and Asian families, to be on the dole, and they say they can't find jobs, but I don't think they're bothered about finding jobs. You've
got to remember that black and Asian people came to this country after the war, when the British economy was demanding that they had overseas labour come in because there wasn't sufficient labour. There was a labour shortage. That's why people came here. They were asked to come here. You may not believe this, but it's a fact. Enoch Powell was one of the people that set up the recruiting stations in the Caribbean to bring black nurses into this country.
Well, I agree with black people working on low-paid jobs. I do agree. But what I'd like to say is this. The money that this country gives away. Now, to Bangladesh, for instance, this year alone, we've given 55,800,000. To India, 99,500,000. And it goes on, I mean, I've got a list here.
But we don't just give money, We tend to give money to countries that spend their money buying British goods.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can't...
I mean, if you look at the size of the trade between Asian countries and England, Great Britain rather, there's a very favourable trade of terms for us.
I disagree.
I think you've got to look at why that money's being used. I mean, it's never for the purposes they say. I mean, they might say it's humanitarian aid, but it's much more likely to be currying favour. Listen, we're going to leave it there, Eric, because we're out of time for this hour. Thanks for that.
Okay, thank you.
Ta-ra.
Good night.
754-123 in Wolverhampton, 236-235 in Shrewsbury. It's the Midnight Line on Beacon and WABC, and we'll be back after the news.
Nursing Care Midlands are the specialist suppliers of products for nursing and residential homes. All requirements are catered for, including incontinence products, waterproof bedding, capital equipment and medical sundries. Plus, there's a full range of furniture and hygiene products, and all with speedy delivery. And if you need advice, they'll visit you. Nursing Care Midlands are here to serve. So if there's something you need that isn't in stock, they'll order it for you. For reliable nursing products and professional advice from qualified nurses, call Nursing Care Midlands for a free catalogue on 0384 480099. That's 0384 480099.
Are you female, aged between 12 and 25? Can you play a brass or percussion instrument? Can you dance? Would you like to travel the country meeting new friends, appearing at venues like Wembley Arena or the NEC? This is your chance to join Chase Drum and Trumpet Corps, one of Britain's top youth marching bands. Auditions are now being held on Wednesday nights at Chase Terrace High School, Bridge Cross Road, Brentwood, between 7pm and 9pm. For further details, call Cannock 685 455. We're a charitable organisation and also require company sponsorship. Call Cannock 685 455.
My house is falling apart and there's damp everywhere. The council and the landlord can't help. What am I going to do?
Don't panic. Walton & Co solicitors give legal advice to anyone with housing, social security or any other legal problems. If you're unemployed or even if you're on a low income, advice is free. At Walton & Co, it's your welfare we care about. So for your legal help, call us on Wolverhampton 21969, Wolverhampton 21969, or come and see us above Brannigan's at 8 North Street, Wolverhampton.
You'll do better at Kidderminster Carpets.
Put the brightness back into your home with a brand new Kidderminster carpet. We've got 80% wool twist from only £7.99 a square yard. And Antron and Stainmaster carpets. They'll keep their good looks for years and years. Buy with confidence. Buy a Kidderminster carpet. Call our free phone number.
0800 44 1155.
Where do arts and crafts mingle with street entertainers? Where fine antiques meet bric-a-brac? The Antiques Fair and Market at the Holiday Wharf in Birmingham. Feast your eyes on 100 indoor shops and stalls, open 7 days a week. While on Sunday, there's the huge outdoor market with memorabilia, handmade clothes and specialist items from around the world. Admission is free and there's plenty of parking. So explore the Antiques Fair and Market on the canal off Broad Street behind the Hyatt Hotel, Birmingham.
Beacon Radio News.
1 o'clock news. This is Sarah Lockett. Colonel Gaddafi has bowed to United Nations pressure in agreeing to hand over 2 Lockerbie bomb suspects. 270 people died when Pan Am Flight 103 was blown out of the sky over Lockerbie in Scotland nearly 5 years ago. The breakthrough came at the United Nations, where Libya's foreign minister made the announcement. Paul Woodley reports from New York.
A UN spokesman said Libya's foreign minister has confirmed his government accepts the 2 suspects should appear before a Scottish court. That has emerged from 2 meetings between UN officials and the Libyans, but the timing of when the suspects will be handed over is still under discussion. Earlier this week, Foreign Secretary Douglas Hurd repeated assurances to the Libyans.
They're now clearly aware that if they hand over these 2 to Scotland, where this atrocity occurred, then they will get a fair trial.
The UN has threatened tougher economic sanctions against Libya if the men are not handed over. Paul Woodley, IRN, New York.
Dr. Jim Swire lost his daughter in the disaster, and he says he's sceptical about the pledge.
We need to see these guys come out of a plane in Scotland, and then we say, fantastic, it's a dream come true, the trial's going to start.
The row over one member, one vote is set to continue at the Labour Party conference in Brighton, despite John Smith's victory on the issue. The party's General Secretary, Larry Whitty, will today explain how it'll work. From Brighton, Peter Murphy reports.
As far as John Smith is concerned, the battle's now over and done with.
We have won the key vote. The changes will now take place.
But the fallout will take some time to clear. There are 2 casualties after all the Wheeler dealing. Transport Union boss Bill Morris, who's threatening to fight on, and Deputy Leader Margaret Beckett. Some in the party say she didn't fight hard enough, and it was noticeable that when the going got tough, Mr. Smith turned to John Prescott to help him win the day. Peter Murphy, IRN, Brighton.
Brian Clough, alleged to be involved in the black market, is welcoming a fraud squad investigation into ticket handling at Nottingham Forest. The ex-manager's broken his silence for the first time following allegations made this week in a TV documentary. Clough's accused of demanding 2,000 tickets for last year's Rumbelows Cup final. Independent Radio News.
The latest satellite picture, direct from John Warner's satellite, Meteosat 4.
It's going to rain, that's what. The overnight low 3 Celsius, 37 degrees Fahrenheit. Periods of rain expected again today. Some of it's going to be heavy. The outlook for Friday and Saturday, unsettled with showers. That's about it, really. Temperature now, 3 Celsius, 37 degrees Fahrenheit.
Beacon Radio.
Midnight Line on Beacon and WABC, 754-123 in Wolverhampton, 236, 235 in Shrewsbury. We're talking this morning to Andrew Housley. He's from the Commission for Racial Equality, so if you've got any questions you want to ask him, you better get on your telephone. Next on the line...
To be the first, and if you go to Wales, they expect to be Welsh first and English second, but I don't expect it in England, and that to me is preferential treatment.
Ooh, you got that off your chest, Joe.
I did, yes.
Is it preferential treatment, Andrew?
What I was talking about was preferential treatment before the law in terms of treatment of people in legal practices. In terms of what your call was talking about, it is provision by the local authority in this area. And I'm not familiar with it because, as you know, but callers probably don't know, I don't live in this area. I live in Leicestershire. But what you're telling me, I think, is that the local authority that's responsible for the area around Bilston has provided some specific facilities for Afro-Caribbean elderly, is it, and for Hindus.
Yeah, but the point is, they wouldn't be allowed to put it for our old people if it was sort of English women, old English women, saying, well, their customs aren't the same as West Indian, which they're not. They wouldn't be allowed to open a home and have it for just those people.
Yeah,
that would be called race discrimination if they did that. But they can do it the other way around, and it shouldn't be allowed.
Right.
It should be one for everybody.
Right. I think what you're telling me, or from what my experience tells me, is that when you have provision for elderly people, by and large, what's been found is that Asians and Afro-Caribbeans don't get into that accommodation. And they...
Oh, they do, because my aunt was in a home where it was mixed. There was Indians and Asians and white, all in the same old people's home. It was a council-run home. This is one specifically in Walsall that is just for West Indian women, which wouldn't be allowed for just British women, saying that they have different ways to the Asians and they don't mix because they're old and they're set in their ways.
I mean, usually what differentiates these places is the diet and those sorts of needs. I've come across a situation where people have said, look, we'll have Hindus along with everybody else, and we don't discriminate. Everybody gets the same food, and if it's roast beef and veg, it's not going to meet a vegetarian Hindu's requirements. Most day centres specifically
for... Diet, don't they? They don't need to open a special home. They can... I mean, a restaurant caters for all sorts, and I'm sure a council could do the same.
I think that's a fair point that Joan's making, that if you open an old people's home and said this is for white Anglo-Saxon Protestants only, I would imagine somebody somewhere would complain.
Absolutely, I'm sure they would.
And you would then follow that up.
Yeah. I think that what we're trying to do is ensure that elderly people are provided for, and that there is provision that meets the needs for different sections of the community. And if different sections of the community have different needs, they should be catered for. Be those needs dietary requirements or whatever.
Do you accept that, Joan?
Well, no, it shouldn't be on a race thing. It should be, if you can do it for one race, you should be able to do it for the English, Scottish, Welsh, whatever.
Yeah.
You cannot do it just for coloured.
Yeah.
Which is what you're doing it for.
I think the way it's generally seen is that all elderly provision is essentially provision for people who are the majority population of this country. The minority communities who sometimes feel that they're not catered for, that's where there is the idea of some specific provision.
No, that's where you said they don't get preferential treatment, and that's where, to me, is they are getting preferential treatment.
I think the provision is to ensure that they do get some treatment if it's not available elsewhere.
And the other thing that I asked about, this in Bilston, where there's the college, it's a community centre and a night school, and the first on the what you call it, the indications for where you're to go. The first language is Hindu. The second is English. Now, to me, I cannot understand why they've done that. We're a long way from India in Bilston.
Yeah.
And that is preferential treatment in our own country. We shouldn't be having that.
I think that's a question for whoever the borough council is that covers Bilston.
Well, this is what I'm saying. Preferential treatment, it shouldn't be allowed.
I'm not sure that notices on a signboard indicate preferential treatment. I mean, it seems to me relatively minor, that.
Well, no, it isn't. If you go to Wales, it's Welsh then English. I accept that, and I expect the same in England. English and whatever other language is underneath, and I'd accept that. But not Indian when we live in Bilston. No way. Anyway.
All right, Joan.
Right, thanks.
You got that off your chest, didn't you? Great. Wouldn't like to meet you on a bad day.
No.
Thanks for that, Joan.
Bye.
Ta-ra.
What we need is a Bilston councillor to ring in and tell us why they do these things.
Oh, they're there, but they won't phone. I've only ever had, because I get all sorts of information as to who listens, and I've only had one councillor ring up and actually admit they were a councillor, because we have our own term for it, you see, on the Midnight Line, which we don't call it the council. We would actually call that Bilston Monkey House.
Oh, right.
That's our term for the council. Now, on this line here, we have got... I can't remember. Who's on this line?
Patrick.
Patrick, right, you're through to Andrew.
Hello. Well, I'm a victim of racial harassment. My mother and I are. We lived in Birmingham, in the Alum Rock area, which is 95% Asian. And, I mean, we had to move. We just had to get out of the area. I mean, my mum lost her job. I had to move school. I mean, they threatened my mum and my sister of rape. I mean, it's just an area where it is no-go for white people.
Why did you move out then? Well, I mean, if you take me through going to the shop. You went to the shop. What happened to you?
Well, for instance, I was walking up Alum Rock Road at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I was mugged at knife point. Answer your question.
Now, regardless of race, colour or creed, a mugging is against the law. Why didn't you call the police?
Because what chance have they got? What chance have you got of finding them? And even if they did find them and name them, I would have been dead anyway.
But then did you move out because you lived in a rough area?
No. It came from when my mum was selling her car, and somebody came round to put a deposit down on the car. They said they'd be back at 1 o'clock the next day. 3 o'clock came, they hadn't came. Somebody else came to buy it. So I sold it to them. I gave them the deposit back. Fair is fair. You know, they said they'd be there at 1 o'clock. They weren't there. That's when it started, really. You know, they threatened my mum and my sister.
So this had a specific point at which it started. It wasn't simply it hadn't happened before. You'd lived there perfectly normally before this incident.
Well, not perfectly normally, no, because that one, when I was mugged, it was before that. And, you know, you couldn't go out after about 6 o'clock. I mean, there was gangs of 30 or 40 walking round. It was targeted white people, really. It was very much of a target. I mean, there was only 4 shops on the whole of Alum Rock Road, and I mean, that goes up to 700 and something. And them 4 shops was constantly having the front windows put through from either, I don't know, if it might have been Asian, other businesses.
But as you said before, Andrew, you've experienced racism on all sides. It's not specifically just racism. It's not specifically white against black.
Well, the Act certainly recognises that discrimination is the factor, and discrimination is what can be challenged in law. And we don't differentiate between who comes to us with cases.
You just look at each individual case.
We look at the case on its merits.
Can you bring individual prosecutions?
We don't bring prosecutions in individual complaint cases. What we take cases to either county court if it's that type of case. Otherwise, we go to industrial tribunals if it's employment.
So you just act as a support.
We provide the advice and support.
What would you have if Patrick had come to you? What would you have advised him?
Very difficult situation. With the assault with the knife would be something that you should go to the police. I mean, that's just, you know, what is it? Aggravated robbery, isn't it? On the other matters, It's hard for me to say at this point because I don't know.
You'd have to get the full case history.
Yeah, the situation.
But primarily that's a police case, Patrick. Anyway, we hope you're over your troubles now. Thanks for your call. 754-123 in Wolverhampton, 236-235 in Shrewsbury. Let's pay the gas bill.
Nursing Care Midlands are the specialist suppliers of products for nursing and residential homes. All requirements are catered for, including incontinence products, waterproof bedding, capital equipment and medical sundries. Plus, there's a full range of furniture and hygiene products, and all with speedy delivery. And if you need advice, they'll visit you. Nursing Care Midlands are here to serve. So if there's something you need that isn't in stock, they'll order it for you. For reliable nursing products and professional advice from qualified nurses, call Nursing Care Midlands for a free catalogue on 0384 480099. That's 0384 480099.
The Chase Motor Company in Hensford Road, Heath Hayes sells really cut-price petrol. That's a blessing these days. Quality Chase petrol, less than others charge. The Chase Motor Company is known as Farms Garage. It's on the Hensford Road, Heath Hayes. It's even got a store with groceries, papers, drinks and a whole lot more. So when you are out travelling, you really must agree you've got to make a stop at Chase Motor Company.
We got what you want at the price you want to pay.
Mayfair's Quality Carpet Wholesale Warehouse is now open to the public.
Make your choice and take it away.
Save pounds on carpets from leading manufacturers by buying direct from the roll at discount prices. There's hundreds of rolls on display which can be fitted within a few days by Mayfair's own expert fitters. Estimates are free and credit is available subject to status. Written quotations on request. Mayfair Carpets, the quality carpet wholesalers. Now open to the public every day in Park Lane, just off the A460 Cannock Road, Wolverhampton.
Are you female, aged between 12 and 25? Can you play a brass or percussion instrument? Can you dance? Would you like to travel the country meeting new friends, appearing at venues like Wembley Arena or the NEC? This is your chance to join Chase Drum and Trumpet Corps, one of Britain's top youth marching bands. Auditions are now being held on Wednesday nights at Chase Terrace High School, Bridge Cross Road, Birkwood, between 7pm and 9pm. For further details, call Cannock 685 455. We're a charitable organisation and also require company sponsorship. Call Cannock 685 455.
Beacon Radio.
Well, the bride looked a picture in the gown that her mama wore when she was married herself nearly 27 years before. She had to change the style a little, but it was just fine. They stayed up all night, but they got it finished just in time. Now on the arm of her daddy, she's walking down the aisle. Then she catches my eye and she gives me a secret smile. Maybe it's too old-fashioned, but we once were close friends. Oh, but the way that she looks today, she never could have been. Well, I can see her now in the tight blue jeans, pumping all her money in a record machine, spinning like a top. Should have seen her go. I knew the bride when she used to rock and roll. I knew the bride when she used to rock and roll. I knew the bride when she used to rock and roll. I knew the bride when she used to rock and roll. Now a proud daddy only wanna give his little girl a bath, and so he put down $1,000 on a cozy little loving nest. You could have called the reception and a qualified success. He had a flash hotel for 150 guests. Take a look at the bridegroom smiling, pleased as pie, shaking hands all around with a glassy look in his eye. He got a real good job, but shirt and tie's nice. But I remember a time when she would never even look at him twice. But I can see her now drinking with the boys, breaking their hearts like they were toys. She used to do the pony, she used to do the stroll. I knew the bride when she used to rock and roll. I knew the bride when she used to rock and roll. I knew the bride when she used to rock and roll. I knew the bride when she used to rock and roll. Well, I can see her now with the headphones on, jumping up and down to a favorite song. I still remember when she used to want to make a lot of noise, hopping and bobbing
got it then. Caught me in mid-dial. Dave Edmunds from our featured CD album this morning, the very best of Dave Edmunds. That was I Need a Bride When She Used to Rock and Roll. In the studio with me this morning from the Commission of Racial Equality, we've got Andrew Housley, doing very well as well, if I might say so. Now, we're trying to get hold of Fav on. I'll speak to him in a minute. You're talking about a campaign that you've conducted for, or within football.
We were certainly concerned about the level of racism on the terraces, and during the summer we decided we'd try and approach the football teams and see if we could get a joint statement together between ourselves and the Players Federation, so that for the Premier League football teams, for the first match of the season, in everybody's programme there would be a statement saying that we were concerned about racism and we wanted to kick racism off the terraces. That was the slogan, kick racism out of football. And we had a lot of support from John Fashanu, Garth Clark, and Garth Crooks and lots of other footballers. And what surprised us was that, having approached the Premier League teams and getting their support, we then went through Division 1, 2, 3, 4, and I think we had 170 football teams all signed up for the campaign to kick racism out of football. It's had a lot of coverage, it's had quite an amount of TV coverage, it's been a great success. We've got the support of the FA, we've got support of FIFA, we've got the support of the players' associations, and it's really gone well.
Has a similar thing happened in Germany, I believe, with the Bundesliga? I think it was a couple of games at the beginning of the season. What the teams did was, the logo on the front of the shirt.
Yep.
They dropped that, and instead that was replaced by "Foreigners are my friends," which was the literal translation. So I'm informed.
Yeah.
Is it? I must confess that I found one of the most amusing things, because I follow football, and, well, Liverpool anyway, that's the closest we got to a football team. And going back to the 70s, they're incredibly racist.
Yeah,
incredibly racist. But then what happened was Liverpool signed John Barnes, who's black, and what they had to do then, the crowd, and I noticed them do it, is they had to totally adjust the way they thought about things.
Yeah, it's happened with a lot of clubs. But, of course, it's never happened with Everton, who've never had a black player yet.
No, they haven't, have they?
And Everton and Millwall and one or two other clubs have still gone in for monkey chants, throwing bananas at players, racial abuse, etc. And that's what we've got to get over.
Oh, no, that still goes on, because, this is like, it's going back to the 70s. The last time I can remember seeing expressions of racism. Although you do hear it on the telly.
Well, a lot of black players say that they enjoy playing the football and they have to switch off to what some of the crowd are saying. But one of the very sad things about it is that you've got these very talented football players, and they just don't feel that a football ground is a place where they could take their family or their children to see them play football, no matter if they're stars of the game, because they don't want their families to be exposed to racial abuse, racial chanting, and the throwing of monkey nuts and bananas.
One of the things we talked about before was just a sort of follow-up to Joan's point, where she said that she was pointing out that certain sort of retirement homes address specialist needs. If you address specialist needs, don't you then stop integration?
I think it's a difficult one, this. One tries to work as far as possible with integrated services, meeting the needs for everybody. I've certainly had experience whereby, when I used to work in West London, where we've got a very large Punjabi Sikh population, they simply weren't getting the services that the majority of the population were getting, and there was a need then to set up special services. And we set up a day centre for elderly Asians, and we were told there wasn't going to be any need, that there wasn't sufficient. And in very short time we had 1,200 members, which really demonstrated the depth of needs within that community.
But why couldn't they go to sort of other day centres?
Well, a lot of people in that age group had language problems. They didn't speak English. Their dietary requirements were different. It's also quite a lot to do with health and health treatment as well.
But presumably, I can accept that if you are 70 years old or whatever, you're going to have difficulty. If you weren't brought up speaking English, if you're 70, 60, 70, it's going to be difficult.
That's right.
And you're going to be isolated. But what about the sort of younger age groups? I would have thought that the emphasis should be put on integration and acceptance.
Well, I think they are, but you don't get many younger people in old age.
No, no, no. But I meant like for example, sort of youth centres and that sort of thing.
Yeah. We'd like to see integrated youth provision.
And that's one of that's policy, is it?
No, it's not policy because we don't have policy on that. We have a policy of working with youth regardless.
Is your ultimate aim to go out of business?
Yes, very much so. I mean, we're working for a fair and just society where people can live their lives free of discrimination and harassment.
You wouldn't like to get on the bikers case, would you? I'll give you a phone about that. Next on the lines, we've got Fav, I think. Good morning, Fav.
No, it's Faz.
Faz.
Morning,
yeah,
Faz.
Z.
Okay, Faz.
Yeah, I'd like to ask you, man, from the CRE or whatever, later on, how he thinks Britain's going to be like because I'm a minority. See what he thinks. How Britain, is it going to get any better or worse? Because I've got my own view. See what he says. But before all that, I'd like to pick up on what Mr. Len had to say. I think he was talking absolute garbage.
So no change there then?
Well, I don't know what he gets up to usually, but it got me out of bed, so I'm a bit,
Which was the most garbagey bit?
Oh, well, it started off kind of silly. I mean, when he said he opens the Evening Mail and it's all for minorities, what's he on about? If all the jobs were for minorities, how come every minority hasn't got a job then? Yeah, has got a job. What's he on about?
And why are minorities overrepresented in the unemployment queue?
Yeah, but obviously I'm looking for some work. I was looking for some work. I'd just make it quite clear to him now. You open the paper and the point is Len. At the bottom of the advert it says where equal opportunities employed. That doesn't mean that we're just going to take on Asian or black people. I'm sorry, Len. You've got it wrong slightly. Do you see what I mean?
Well, what does that actually mean when you see that?
Yeah, I'm a bit cynical myself. It just means that
it says we are an equal opportunities employer. What?
It means that apparently they're going to treat you as a minority as equal as the next white person or majority person of Britain.
So a company could put that and then lie about it.
Basically, yeah. I'm a bit cynical on these matters because there's things like top companies. I mean, I can't, whatever percentage minorities are, 3%, your man said. Whatever it is.
3.5, I think it was.
Right, 3.5.
He said, flashing off his knowledge.
Right.
Newly acquired.
Right, yeah, 3.5. Where's 3.5 in ICI, BP, even W.H. Smith top management? Any of them? I'm sorry, there's no representation of minorities in how they should be.
Well, let's start at the top, shall we? Why isn't the 3.5% of the cabinet?
Because it's not in their interest for
3.5%
to be there.
3.5% of the royal family.
Wow, the royal family.
Now that'd raise the Queen Mother's eyebrows.
That's a special matter. I don't think it'd raise a few more eyebrows than her eyebrows. I think. Yeah, but I mean, do you see the point though? I mean, it's endemic in Britain. It's not gonna. It's all right talking about it, but in my view, it's not going to change. I don't know what Mr. CRE does, but
do you believe it's going to change, Andrew? Presumably, you must, or you wouldn't get out of bed.
Good question.
I think there's lots of changes already. To be honest, we want to go a lot further than we are, but if you compare the situation in this country with the situation in Europe.
Yeah.
Where
good point.
The vast majority of people of Asian, Afro-Caribbean, and other origins in Europe don't have citizenship for a start. They're classed as third country nationals.
Can I butt in, Andrew?
Yeah.
The thing is, right, what citizenship have we got as a minority group?
Well, hang on.
I don't know if you're a minority group.
No, I'm not.
Well, I presume you're not with Andrew. But what rights have we got, really? End of the day.
You got a tremendous amount of rights.
Well, you have the little black book, the passport, but end of the day, come on.
Yeah, you
be honest.
Hang on, let me give you the answer you want.
Go on.
If you look at what's happening in Europe, if you're caught in Europe and you break a law, you can be on a train out of the country. You've got no rights as a gastarbeiter, a guest worker in Europe. You're counted as
the thing is,
a third country national. Now in Britain, you've got rights as citizens. You've got a Race Relations Act that gives you certain protection against discrimination. Right. And there's plenty of people that go to court and come away with winning victories in tribunals and in court.
Yeah, but the point is, these rights are all well and good, but you've got to get into employment in the first place. And with the obstacles are so difficult to get there in the first place, what is the point of the rights when you're not going to be there?
Okay.
You know,
it's tough to get jobs.
Proper jobs. You know, like if you're qualified with a degree, you should be getting the proper job. But you're not. I don't know about you, but I know that I'm not going to get my, you know, what job I not deserve, but like the next whatever white person with the same degree, same 2-1 or whatever. I'm not going to get the same job. I know that.
How long?
What rights have I got?
How long have you been out of work?
Well, I'm in my final year. I'm a student,
so you haven't been out of work yet?
No, I'll be looking for work next year.
Well, you may find that you get the jobs.
Wow.
I look at my chairman, who started off as a young man in South London, who came here from the Caribbean. He rose to being chief executive of ILIA, in a London Education Authority, a £1 billion authority, chief executive. Went from there to be chief executive of Lambeth.
Sounds like a good role model, but there's not many though.
Hang on.
Yeah.
Lambeth Council employs over 50% black employees.
Yeah, but
there's plenty of authorities around the country with 15-20% employees from minorities.
Right. Yeah, but it needs to be spread throughout the nation. You can't
Absolutely,
have it,
and that's why.
You can't have it just in Lambeth and Brent.
But that's why you've got to come out and support us in the work that we're doing to ensure.
What do you actually do then? What do you do? Sorry, I haven't heard the chatting because I've been waiting for someone to ring me back.
Right.
But
I mean, one of the points that we're trying to do is prevent discrimination in recruitment, so that people
how do you do that, then?
do have a better chance.
How do you do that? Because it's a bit subtle, though, isn't it? Because nobody knows.
Well, apart from taking the complaints when people are aware of it.
You're not, though. I'm not aware of it when someone chucks my form in the bin.
The vast majority of people, as you say, aren't even aware of it when they're discriminated against, because it's very hard to prove.
Yeah.
But we have the power also to do investigations.
Right.
To go in and look at the records.
How many investigations do you have?
Let me finish before you keep cutting in.
So you are the Spanish Inquisition.
Yeah.
I'm a cynic, you know.
We actually
question the man.
We actually looked at people going into medicine. And we looked at a famous medical school called St. George's Medical School. And we did an investigation, and what did we find? We found the computer that selected applicants to go into their medical school had a loaded software to prevent minorities getting it in above a certain percentage.
Nice one, organised.
Right, organised. Well, we cracked it. And if you look at hospitals and look at doctors, do you know what the percentage is of ethnic minority doctors?
Quite a few.
Over 40%.
Yeah.
Right?
That's the one-off profession, though, doctors and...
Now let's look at it and say, where are those doctors? You know where they are?
Few GPs.
Now, in hospitals we're talking about. Let's do the hospital sector. They're in geriatrics, they're in psychiatry, and they're in venereology. There is a distinct underproportion in obstetrics. In other words, they're in the parts of medicine which are the least popular. So what are we doing?
That's handy, isn't it?
So what are we doing? We're looking at every appointment made in 7 regional health authorities for registrars and consultants over a complete year. Now that's how you start to crack employment. You look at an area, you target it, and then you examine it over a year, and you look at every appointment that's made for certain grades. And that's people with degrees, people with medical skills, and you see if they are being discriminated against and how it happened. And we've done that in lots of areas of employment. We know how discrimination works, how institutional discrimination works, how the subtle impersonal ones work, and we expose it, and we're tackling that. And it's a long, drawn-out problem, but we're working on it.
Listen, I've got to move on, Vaz. All right, thanks for your call. We'll be back with more calls on the Midnight Line at Beacon and WABC after this.
Ainsley Windows are the family firm who offer probably the best value windows in the Midlands. Order 7 fully reinforced windows now for fitting in 94 and save £100 off their already competitive prices. And save £125 on a high security front and back door. Ainsley also offer a range of UPVC conservatories from £2,495. And you pay nothing till you're completely happy. Call Ainsley Windows now on Brown Hills 370 752.
You know, there's nothing the Labatt Singing Mounties love more than horsepower.
We're down here rocking by the racetrack side. I'll cheer on the team we sponsor with pride. Though they can't ride a horse, they can sure drive a car. They're the Williams team and they're gonna go far. Oh, yeah.
Labatt's Canadian Lager, proud sponsors of the Williams Formula One racing team.
So to keep your cool throughout the race, shout giddy up, boy, and take first place.
Brewed in the UK, Labatt's Canadian Lager. It's so cool, it's cold.
You'll do better at Kidderminster Carpets.
Put the brightness back into your home with a brand new Kidderminster carpet. We've got 80% wool twist from only £7.99 a square yard. And Antron and Stainmaster carpets. They'll keep their good looks for years and years. Buy with confidence. Buy a Kidderminster carpet. Call our free phone number.
0800 44 1155.
The Co-op Homemaker Store, Shaw Street, Walsall, closes down on the 16th of October. Selected beds, carpets and three-piece suites are at half price, and there'll be massive discounts on top main electrical goods, like stereos, TVs, videos, satellite equipment, camcorders, fridge freezers, vacuum cleaners, microwaves and washing machines. You name it, we've probably got it at incredibly low prices. Everything must go. So visit the Co-op Homemaker Store, closing down sale, Shaw Street, Walsall now. Phone Walsall 28127.
How can you enhance your company image in just 24 hours? Move to IMEX Business Parks. All premises have reception staff and security patrols. Office units have reception facilities, while industrial tenants have the use of three-phase power, compressed air lines and forklift trucks. Just pay a month's rent in advance with no personal guarantees and you're up and running. For more details, dial 100 and ask for free phone IMEX. IMEX. No red tape, no worries.
Beacon Radio.
Midnight Line on Beacon and WABC. We've got Andrew Housley in the studio. He's from the Commission of Racial Equality, or Commission for Racial Equality. So we're taking your calls on that subject. 754 123 in Wolverhampton, 236 235 in Shrewsbury. Next on the lines, it's David. Good morning. Who's on this line then?
Mark.
Mark. I was close, Mark.
Go on now,
I was
first time caller.
Very, very close. All right, you're through to Andrew. Sorry, I have a mental block. You're through to Andrew. What did you want to ask?
Yeah, you know, we was talking about we all get treated the same, right? How come all the Asians and everything, like, allowed to run around burning books and everything? And how come all the BNP, like, you know, the BNP when it was at Warsaw, like, up London? How come all the ANL, like, ran at them, like, and all the BNP got arrested when you were there for, you know what I mean? And how come they was allowed to burn the flag?
You're talking about Sunday?
Yeah.
When 57 BNP people got arrested?
Yeah.
Yeah? Well, I wasn't there.
Yeah.
But as I understand it, the British National Party make a point of selling their newspapers in Brick Lane, in the heart of the Bangladeshi community, on Sundays.
Yeah, but it's democratic, eh? You can do what you want anywhere, can't you?
Well, there are limits. And one of the limits is you can't incite racial hatred. That's against the law.
The what else is still in the books?
What the British National Party do, and I've seen them selling these papers, they are printing fairly inflammable material in the first place, but then if you start to using slogans, racial abuse, you're going to get arrested, and that's what happened.
Yeah, but answer a question for us. How come there's burning the British flag then?
Well, if people like the British National... There's been 9 murders in East End of London.
Yeah.
And if the Bangladeshi community see the British National Party wrapping themselves in a national flag...
Yeah, but any white people got murdered by Asian people.
I don't know, you tell me.
I don't know the facts, because I got the figures on me. You know what I mean?
I can't think of any cases that you're talking about.
I know a case in Warsaw where a boy got stabbed up by some Asians. A racial attack. I know plenty of racial attacks, mate.
As I was saying, the government statistics are that if you're Asian, you're 50 times more likely than you are if you're white to be racially attacked.
Yeah, but that's probably in a white area, eh?
No, that's nationally. We're talking about the national figures. 50 times more likely if you're Asian, according to the government.
Yeah, mate, because, like, how come, right, if we went running around, like, burning Pakistan flags and everything, we'd get arrested, but they can go around, like, burning Pakistan English flags when they're in this country,
and they don't get arrested, you know what I mean?
I don't think anybody likes to see the national flag burnt, but nobody wants to see the national flag abused by being taken over by things like the National Front and British National Party.
Yeah, but they're like nationalists, they believe in the country, standing up for the country, standing up for decent, upholding white people, like.
No, what they believe in is what Adolf Hitler believed in.
No.
They're Nazis.
No, at all.
They're not Nazis.
Are you ANL by any chance?
No, I work for the Commission for Racial Equality.
Yeah.
ANL, we should point out, is Anti-Nazi League, if my memory serves me correctly.
Yeah. Get on in now. Because I used to live in, like, Warsaw, like, and being this way I'm dressed, like, people used to, black people and Asian people used to, like, think they're, like, racial attacks, like.
And why, how were you...
used to start on us.
We can't see you, so how are you dressed?
Got short hair, wear a black bomber and, like, Dr. Martens.
So what would technically be known as a skinhead?
Well, sort of, yeah.
Or a smooth, actually, I remember from the 70s, if your hair was a bit longer.
Yeah.
Well, I used to look like that in the 70s. What's the problem with that?
Yeah, but black people don't see it that way, you know what I mean?
Why is it that they don't see it that way? Perhaps it's because they've started to identify that appearance with certain threats to themselves?
Yeah. But they don't see, because when I'm walking down the road, I get abuse, you know what I mean? But I don't start on them, you know what I mean? So, they're starting on white people, you know what I mean?
Does Mark have a point when he says, I mean, if you cast your mind back to the problems that were associated with Salman Rushdie, there was a sort of massive showing of Muslim solidarity. There was the burning of the books. There was the issuing of death threats. I mean, surely they seem to be, to a large extent, if not ignored, they certainly weren't followed through with the venom that maybe they would have been followed through if somebody had been burning, say, a Pakistani flag or something.
Two separate things: burning flags and burning books. It's two separate things, isn't it? I don't know. I think the police and the government were very sensitive to what was happening around the Salman Rushdie case. I think they have handled that very carefully, because not because of its relationships within this country, but also because of its international ramifications, the relationship between ourselves and Iran, the impact it has on the whole of the Middle East. I think it's something that had to be handled with care. The situation didn't have to be inflamed, and one didn't want to divide communities. One wanted to calm that situation down as far as possible, and work. And it's taken years, hasn't it? And we still haven't got that FATCA rescinded yet.
No, we haven't. But then you could argue that as far as we are concerned, we in the UK, as far as is possible, enjoy freedom of speech, and that to allow other nations to curtail that freedom of speech is not on.
Yeah, that's right. We haven't allowed it to be curtailed. I mean, Salman Rushdie's had a very difficult life, but he's been afforded legal protection, and he has been able to continue publishing articles and writing books.
But he is in hiding now. The reaction of some elements within the UK society, I'm thinking particularly of, I think it was a guy in Bradford. There was Muslim leaders appearing on the telly saying, "We agree with that fatwa."
Yeah.
And surely that's is that not incitement?
I think what it isn't is incitement to racial hatred. It may be incitement to hatred.
I just wonder. I mean, I understand that it's a very sensitive issue, and how the police are seen to deal with it is going to have far-ranging implications, especially as some people would believe that the police are racist.
But what that comes down to is a difference on religion between an Indian-born Asian writer resident in this country and representatives of a Muslim state and Muslim communities throughout the world. In a sense, it's not a race relations problem in the way that we're working on them.
But then I suppose it doesn't.
It raises the question about religions and blasphemy laws, more than it raises questions about race relations.
So you would see it then as a religious issue?
Yeah, it's the whole point of blasphemy. At the moment in this country, blasphemy only exists to protect Christianity and established state religions. It doesn't exist to protect Judaism, Islam, and other religions.
Okie doke, Mark.
Yeah, why should it do? Because this is England. Shouldn't it be British people and the British country before any other country?
I think the world's too small to take that view these days. People travel around the world. The British have gone all around the world. We have people coming internationally through Britain all the time. I don't think you can take parochial views like that.
Yeah, how come, right, the government owes £2 billion outright and it still gives aid to other countries and everything like that? Shouldn't it be for the British people, not for anybody else?
Well, this country gives aid to developing countries and other countries. It also receives aid. We receive a tremendous amount of aid from Europe.
Why should we though? Because if we don't give aid and we don't give anything out, we'd be all right on our own, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but Mark, I think you can't really take an isolationist view of things, and I will eat my hat if our government are giving away anything for nothing. They're getting something back for it.
Yeah.
They've got to be, even if it's just influence. Listen, we're going to move on, Mark. Thanks for your call. Do try us again, all right?
Yeah, bye.
Cheers. 754-123 in Wolverhampton, 236-235 in Shrewsbury. We'll be back to the lines after these.
Hey, Suits Plus are flogging 2 suits for £100. 2 suits for £1. Suits Plus in the Quasar Centre, Park Street, Walsall, and City Centre, Birmingham.
Hollybush Garden Centre and Aquarium has grown, and so has our value for money.
So get your garden going, Hollybush, the growing garden centre.
The new, bigger and better Hollybush means there's even more of everything for the garden and fish enthusiasts.
Hollybush, the growing garden centre.
The Hollybush Garden Centre, M6, Junction 11, Warstone Road, Shares Hill.
Hollybush.
The spectacular new laser show has arrived at Maynard's, the nightclub. Thursday night is party night every week at Maynard's with a fantastic laser light show supported by Beacon Radio's Neil Jackson. For hen parties, office parties, birthday parties and more, book a meal in the restaurant and get free admission. You must be over 21 and smart dress is required. Maynard's nightclub, open 9 p.m. till 2, Thursday, Friday and Saturday nights at Hemlock Way, Hawks Green, Cannock.
Sarah says to me, your boyfriend's really got taste, hasn't he? Well, he chose me, didn't he? Now, she says, in clothes, all that upmarket trendy stuff. He gets it all at Uno Clothing, I say. Well, it obviously pays, she says. I'll say, if he sees the same thing anywhere else, they'll match the price or go cheaper. She says, but that suits him very well. Not as well as it suits me, I said.
Uno Clothing, the #1 unisex fashion outlet in the Midlands, with fabrics and colours to tailor-make a style of your own. Victoria Arcade, Manda Centre, Wolverhampton, opposite Beatties.
Are you female, aged between 12 and 25? Can you play a brass or percussion instrument? Can you dance? Would you like to travel the country meeting new friends, appearing at venues like Wembley Arena or the NEC? This is your chance to join Chase Drum and Trumpet Corps, one of Britain's top youth marching bands. Auditions are now being held on Wednesday nights at Chase Terrace High School, Bridge Cross Road, Burntwood, between 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. For further details, call Cannock 685 455. We're a charitable organisation and also require company sponsorship. Call Cannock 685 455.
Midnight Line on Beacon and WABC. We're in the home straight. Let's speak to... We've got Mary on here somewhere. I can't remember where I put Mary. Are you on this line, Mary? No, you're not on that line. Let's try this line. Mary.
Hello, Ian.
Hello, we got you.
Hello.
We got you. You're there.
Marvellous.
You're through to Andrew.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Andrew.
Good morning.
I don't know whether you can actually help me with this inquiry.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you the background first very quickly. A few years ago, I became a volunteer with a national voluntary organisation.
I thought you were going to say National Front then.
God forbid. As part of their basic training course, I remember seeing a video that I think was entitled Brown Eyes, Blue Eyes.
Oh, yes, indeed.
Are you aware of that?
Yes, I am. Very famous American video.
That's right, yes. Would you know where I could get a copy of that at all?
No, but if you want to give me a ring at the office, I can find out for you.
Oh, lovely. Okay.
Can I give you a number?
Yes, please.
021
Yeah.
632
632
4544.
4544. And it's Andrew
Housley.
Housley.
Yep.
That's lovely.
It should be available through most local education departments, but certainly teacher resource centres, things of that sort. But I'll find out exactly where for you.
Oh, that's great. I actually think if a lot more people could watch films or videos along the lines of Brown Eyes, Blue Eyes, which, in my opinion, illustrates beautifully what discrimination can do in a very subtle way.
That's right.
And how it splits people and, alters behaviour, all sorts of things. And it's very well done.
Yep, it's brilliant.
But it's been a few years since I've seen it, so, I'd like a copy of it, actually. That's great. Thanks very much.
Okay.
You're welcome.
You.
Cheers, Mary.
Thanks a lot, Ian.
It's all right.
Bye.
Another satisfied customer. Right, who've we got next? I think this is Anthony. Is this Anthony?
Yes.
Hello, Anthony.
Hello there. Is Andrew there?
Yes, he's here.
Hi.
I was watching a football match the other day, right? It's against Spurs. And Jason Dizelle, who used to play Fifth Street, got booed off the pitch, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And I don't think that was right. He served Ipswich Town for 12 years, and when he transferred to Spurs, they started booing him off the pitch. And I think they must have hurt his feelings, quite so much after that. But the other thing is, I live around Darlington with Asians. I've got Asian shops, they might be. I've got Asian shops everywhere, so I speak to the Asians and I speak their language sometimes, but I find them all right. They're quite nice people to talk to. But I don't think people should discriminate against them. They ain't the same colour as us, but they live in this country, and they should be allowed to live their lives to the full without being disturbed. You know what I mean?
I agree.
Okie dokie, thanks for that. That's Anthony the Integrationist. Next on this line here, we've got Brian, I think. Hello, Brian. No, David.
Hello?
Hello, David. You're through to Andrew.
Oh, hello there.
Hi.
Well, first of all I'd say about old Salman Rushdie, okay, they want to set fire to him and all the rest of it, but I mean, in this country we have Jehovah's Witnesses and Plymouth Brethren and all the rest of them knocking on our doors and interrupting our privacy, but we don't want to go out and set fire to them, do we?
Well, to be fair,
But, of course, and also, I mean, I was brought up in this country. I'm British and very, very proud of it. My sister, who is 50 years of age, the same as me, but she played with a black doll and a white doll. But my son is now turning his back on this country, and he wants to go to Australia. Why he wants to go to Australia, I have no idea. He's got a reasonable education. We have got some relatives in Australia. Well, his job, actually, he's a second-hand car salesman.
Send him to Australia.
But he can't get into Australia. They won't allow him. They won't allow him to go into Australia.
Has he got a criminal record?
No, he hasn't.
Maybe that's why they won't let him in.
He hasn't. If he eventually gets into Australia, he can't possibly sign on a dole or accept any state benefits for at least 18 months. And yet here we are in this country letting all these bloody people in left, right and centre who can't speak a word of bloody English. I mean, surely, when you look at the size of Australia against the size of this country, and my son has got a reasonable education, he's got 2 or 3 O-levels or whatever it is, we've got relatives over there where he can go and stay with them, but he cannot go into that country because his education isn't correct and he hasn't got a profession.
Now, who's right there?
Pardon?
Who's right?
Australia. Definitely. Why should they have somebody going over there who cannot add something to their have a livelihood of himself and support himself over there and give something to the country? Why should they have him? And yet in this country, we allow these people coming into us left, right, centre, who, not only Asians, but other people as well, who can't speak a word of English. And then they want to dictate when they come into this country to our schools. There was an article about some woman who was most distressed that her daughter is coming home and speaking more Hindi than what she is speaking English. I think it's absolutely deplorable. And then
right,
wait just one moment. And we have somewhere up north where a lavatory was built and had to be demolished because it wasn't suiting the Sikh or Hindi community. £15,000.
That actually isn't true.
Oh, well, it is true.
No. What happened was that it was a council house. The house was due for redecoration anyway, and as the council said, it cost us no more.
No, you've got the wrong thing.
This was in Bradford.
No, you've got the wrong thing. I know what you're on about. This is a totally different thing altogether. But I mean, you know, why should we...
Well, let's go back to the point you were making. Your son can't get into Australia. Vast majority of people can't get into this country. Australians can't get into this country unless they have a paternal grandfather born here. Australians can't get into this country unless they have a paternal grandfather at least born here.
Fine.
Right? Fine. Neither can Canadians, neither can Asians, neither can Africans.
Well, how come we get these people coming over here who can't even speak a word of English?
Right, the people who are coming... Hang on, you wanted to speak, now let me. The people who are coming here at the moment, who can't speak languages, are people who are coming here as refugees, as people who are victims escaping from war under the UN conventions. It's not immigration that's allowing people into this country.
Pardon?
It isn't immigration laws. We've got extremely strict immigration laws.
Well, how come all these people keep coming over then?
Well, there isn't all these people still coming over. It's a lot of mythology
around.
around
My
it.
local corner shop, 2 or 3 local corner shops, and they can't speak a word of English. Why? Why haven't they tried to fit in with our society? I live in Shrewsbury here, and there's a lot of Chinese people, Malay people, Korean people. There's a lot of, if you like, yellow people in this town, but their children go to school. They don't get dressed up in little grey boiler suits and all the rest of it. They all fit in. They mix in. But as soon as you go towards our Indian friends, they've all got little frilly doilies on their heads, and they want to do this and want to do that. You know, why?
I don't think you're correct in your figures and assumptions. Firstly, people who came to this country are the only people who can come to this country have rights of entry. The immigration laws are extremely strict. There isn't massive numbers of people coming into this country because the immigration laws are so strict. In fact, at the moment, we are having a net outflow from the country rather than a net inflow.
Okie dokie. Listen, we've got to leave it there, I'm afraid, David, because we're out of time.
Overtaken by these people, and it's about time we stood up for our bloody rights.
No, you're not overtaken when it's only 3.5% of the population.
Okie dokie. Finally, Brian.
Hello, yeah.
Hello, Brian. You're through to Andrew.
I'm in defence of the coloured people, about coloured people. I've got Sikh friends, and I've found nothing but help and consideration of them. And they've done nothing but kindness to me. And I found when I've been talking to them, there's no racial discrimination in what language they talk at all. And there is racial discrimination in other groups, and because I worked in a firm during the 60s where there was Jamaicans, and they'd only employed Jamaicans because they wouldn't work with Indians. And so the discrimination amongst them people. And my Sikh friends, once they went into a police station, and when they come back, I was surprised. They said there was a load of packies in there. So it's through all groups. And I'm afraid they're made to stay. Well, it don't matter what anybody says, they're made to stay. It don't matter what people comment or say, they're here to stay.
Okie dokie, thanks for that, Brian. Thanks for all your calls tonight. If we couldn't get back to you, sorry. As ever, there's more people wanted to be on than we actually had airtime for. So it wasn't that we weren't interested in what you had to say. It was just a matter of a time limit. Again, though, the earlier you get your call in, the more likely you are to get on the show. We'll be back tomorrow night with the Midnight Line at 12. Thank you very much, Andrew.
Thank you.
Very diplomatically.
Enjoyed it.
Very, very well. We're pleased. And we hope you'll join us again.
Love to.
At some point. So, thanks for that. I see you brought a booklet in, a guide to... I'll flick through that after. Okie dokie. We'll close the lines on the Midnight Line now, but coming up next, it's more chances to win.
from Beacon and WABC. It's the hits, and I haven't got my little jingly things in. I'll stick those in, shall we? It's the hits and the headlines coming up next. All you got to do is tell me which 2 years we're featuring. We'll be featuring a year from the 70s, one from the 80s. As soon as you've worked out which year we're featuring, 754-123 in Wolverhampton, 236-235 in Shrewsbury. We're playing for creds. We'll do a draw around about 3:10 this morning for 10 creds, and you can use those creds at Ian and Al's beautiful superstore. Now, if you can accumulate 60 creds, you win yourself your very own motorcycle licence worth £250. So there.
Beacon Radio News.
The 2 o'clock news, this is Sarah Lockett. Colonel Gaddafi's agreed to hand over the 2 Lockerbie suspects for trial in Scotland. Libya's been under pressure from the United Nations to surrender the men by tomorrow or face tough new sanctions. Matt Bingham reports.
The breakthrough comes nearly 5 years after 270 people died in one of the worst disasters in Scottish history. Libya's foreign minister says his government has no objection to the men standing trial at a court in Scotland. But Dr. Jim Swire, whose daughter died in the tragedy, says it's still too soon to say the fight's been won.
Tell me the plane's landed, they're here. Then I'll really believe. Then I'll go out and buy the fireworks.
Diplomats at the UN meet Libyan officials today to decide on a timetable for the handover. If all goes well, the 2 accused could be up before a court in Glasgow or Edinburgh in the next few months. Matt Bingham, IRN, Glasgow.
The spokesman for the group Victims of Pan Am 103, Bert Ammerman, who lost a brother in the tragedy, says the UN must press ahead with sanctions as Colonel Gaddafi could be bluffing yet again.
This is the closest that it's come for me that I think that we've done everything possible so that our loved ones didn't die in vain. If it is a trial, if it does go to Scotland, I would make every effort to be there the first day. I'd have to personally see the individuals being arraigned in Scotland. Then I know that I've done everything possible in the name of my brother.